Hi, everybody. This is Nestor with another delivery of our podcast, our weekly podcast, DNA, where we talk about different things related to the call center industry when it comes to hiring, when it comes to the exams or the preparations that you need in order for you to be ready for your next job interview. As you already know, we have our co-host Didier, and in let me go ahead and introduce to you Didier. Didier, how's it going, man? How are you today?
Hi, I'm pretty well. Thank you for asking. I am really excited to be here again. It's a little bit delayed, but here we are. We always want to have all of our content available for you guys, and we are trying to have the best type, the best content, the best topics. I'm sorry.
Very
We
good.
are always trying to look for the best topics for you, and today we do have a really good one.
Yeah. In fact, in today's topic, I had the opportunity to run a live event on TikTok, and one of our followers said that is there any kind of guide for you to be ready for your job for your next job interview at a call center? And this person is Sua Rohan. I think it's just her, the short name for her complete name. But Suhan Rohan says, is there any kind of guide for you to study? Is there any kind of guide for you to go through the process of the interview? And in fact, there is a guide, right? There are around 8 steps in the process of the job interview, and among those steps are, for example, get in contact with the recruiter as a first person. Then you have language specialist. Perhaps after that, you may have, or you need to face a grammar exam. You need to face a typing test or a computing exam as well. And last but not least, there are some call centers where first and test is going to be involved. There are some call centers where first and test is going to be just right there. So you must be ready for that exam. So Didier, let's talk about one of the first step that you need to actually make sure you have. And the first step is this CV, right? Or people call it as well, right? Resume, right? What do you think about the first part? How a resume should be delivered according to your experience? It should be only in one single piece of paper. It should be two pieces of paper, or it should be three or four, or you can submit all your papers immediately. So can you tell us a little bit how this information should be delivered? It should be delivered in Spanish, should be delivered in English, should be delivered in another language. I don't know. Let me know.
That's actually a great topic that we're going to have today. Let's start with the resume. There are different types of resume, as you know. For example, whenever you are taking your information to your job interview, you always need to be clear in what you are showing to them. They will need to see all of your previous job experiences. It is really important to know the time that you have worked in those different places, because something that call centers really want is a person that is very stable on job. They don't want a jumper, let's say,
Very
somebody
good
that is
points.
working
Yes.
in a call center like 3 months
Mm-hmm.
and then go to the other one 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not good for the company.
Mm-hmm.
So providing that information is very important. Uh, and out of that, it depends a lot on the company as well. For example, there are some that want you to be very creative, like, for example, providing some background or your picture on the bottom of the page. In my case, I have it on 2 pages, and I just deliver the information clear. So my name, personal information, then my job experience, and my reference. That's been working well for me. And well, let's see what Nestor says.
Um, One of the things that you need to keep in mind is that there are, let's say, two kind of candidates. Those kind of candidates who already have experience in the industry at call centers or any other kind of experience related to the industry itself or some other kind of industry itself as well, right? But let me start off with those people who don't have actually any kind of experience, what they can talk about. Okay, you can talk about, for example, in your resume, as Didier has said, no, first things first, you need to write down your email address, your full name, what your birth of date is, where do you live, your contact number. That's very basic information
That's
because
very basic.
they are gonna get in contact with you through that, right? That's number one thing you need to be thinking about. You need to think about that thing. Now, go into the fact that you don't have experience whatsoever. When that happens, you can talk about the things that you have done inside your school, right?
That is
The
correct.
things, for example, the kind of achievements that you have gotten in your past experiences at school, or if you play sports, for example, what kind of achievement have you gotten from your sports event? And or if you have done any kind of volunteering activity, right? If you have participated on in, for example, NGO projects, there are some NGO projects that you can participate on that you have been involved in, and pretty much right. These will help the recruiter to have a sense, to have an idea what kind of person you are. Now, let's say that you don't have any of this. Maybe you haven't either have the opportunity to get involved into your community. You know that every day we deal with people. And when we deal with people, among those people, we're talking about our colleagues, our peers, our classmates. So when you have a challenge situation with your classmate, what are the things that you're going to be saying to your classmate? How do you deal with that? So if you write down on your resume how you behave, how you manage conflict situations, that will be a plus for you.
Yeah.
Besides, yeah, you were about
Yeah,
to say something.
I'm sorry. I was just going to provide a little bit of information about that. Yes, actually, that's something really important. Whenever you don't have experience in the call center and you really want to show that you have the skills that they need, it is really good for you to, as they always say, introduce yourself. Your voice is going to be the mechanism they're going to use to know your skills, and you have to mention how you deal with stress. That is something really important.
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
your activities on your free time are also really good to mention. For example, as Nestor said, I mean, if you practice sport, if you if you do any type of community service, that's actually really good, and that's going to show that you are not only there for the money, but
Mhm.
also
There you go.
you're there because you can help, you can handle the situations that they may come, and yeah, that's what they want to see on the first on the interview.
You need to keep in mind that this kind of job, this kind of position is related to interpersonal skills, right? So the more you know yourself, the better it will be for you to sell yourself to the recruiter, language specialist, and even operation manager, which is the
That is
guy who actually tells you, welcome aboard, right? Now, if you have already experience, right, in the industry, I mean, in any kind of other, in any other industry, try to recall those moments that they actually has to do with the position that you're applying for.
correct.
For example, if you have experience in sales, so recall those sales experiences that you have. Recall those expertise that you already have acquired from these positions, from former jobs.
Right.
Um, and that's very important because sometimes I see CVs from students that or people, right? For people that approach us, they come to our seminars and workshops, and they start showing me their CVs. And normally, what I see it's the long history employment they have had.
Yeah.
Um, we need to keep in mind that we need to adjust the information according to the position that we are applying for. So it's very crucial that you actually match, right, your CV to the company's requirements, to the company's responsibilities, right? The responsibilities that you're gonna be doing in that job position. Alrighty, so Lydia, I don't know if you wanna add something else about the cover letter or our first step to the guide.
Yes, about that, that's really important what you just said about highlighting the skills that you have to offer for the company. There are some skills that are very useful, but the company may not need. For example, I would say, hey, I speak Japanese, and you'll be, okay, we don't hire Japanese speakers.
That's a really good point.
Do you want to get paid for that? And they're going to be like, I'm sorry, but we don't have a position for you.
Yeah, absolutely. For example, just imagine, just picture the following situation where I speak German and I'm learning Chinese. So, and the job position itself is for serving or for offering any kind of product service to American people from the United States and people from Mexico. So pretty much what you need to use in this service or in this position will be Spanish for those people who doesn't speak English and English itself, right? So my Chinese abilities or skills and my German skills as well. They're not worthy enough, right? They're not worthy enough.
They are really good ones, even though in here they are not going to allow you to get in. In fact, they could affect you because the interviewer may think that you want to get paid for those skills. Okay, so just highlight what you are good at. That is more common, more comfortable, and more convenient for the company.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump right into our next topic, which is going to be the cover letter. So, what do you want to add about the cover letter, Didier?
Okay, can you give me an idea? Because I typically don't know this.
The cover letter is the piece of information that you are telling the person, the recruiter, or the operation manager, adding more information besides your CV that you are interested in that position, right?
Oh, yeah.
So have you ever written a cover letter, Didier?
I think I have, and I didn't realize because they typically go and say, "Talk about your call center experiences," and I go and say, "Hey, I have done some soft sales, some cold calls, some tech support." If I'm not mistaken, that's kind of how it goes. And they go ahead and say, "Hey, how did you develop on your cold call skills?" That's actually one of the ones that I really get not that good at. I mean, calling somebody that is not aware that you're calling is not very simple for everybody. I am more of an inbound calls other than an outbound. Okay, so I actually say, hey, I am not good at cold calls, but I am great doing the customer care and also the follow-ups and all of that. So does that provide any information to the topic?
I see the cover letter as the hook of everything. The cover letter is that the bait, right? The bait for that person to click and open your resume. Let's say if the position requires you to have any kind of experience in sales, right, selling things, and in your cover letter, you talk about how you have been developing sales in your previous or former jobs. So that's the hook. It's actually the bait for the recruiter. Open that email, open that resume, and start reading what kind of experience you have. So is the cover letter important? If the cover letter, take a look at this. The cover letter is basically in 3-4 lines or just in a single paragraph just forget about the the titles, Mr. XYZ recruiter from this call center industry company, right? Just forget about the titles. Just forget about your signature, your personal information. Just focus on those three paragraphs that you would like to show. You would like the recruiter know, right, what you're capable of in the position of sales or in any other position, could be retention, collections, customer service, right? And that's it's very important for you to actually understand or to know what they're looking for, right? That's very crucial because if you go with a sales cover letter and they are not looking for a salesperson, they are looking for a technician. So you're screwed, right? You screwed up, meaning that they're not gonna give that importance to your cover letter. They're not gonna give that importance to your CV just because they are looking for something that you don't have, or you don't, or you do have, but you didn't
You didn't
show.
highlight.
Yeah, you haven't highlighted in your cover letter, right? Alrighty, I
Yeah, I
have.
haven't. I think I
Mhm.
haven't. I'm sorry for that. I think I haven't done that like at all. I typically go with my resume. It's pretty simple. It provides my information, not basic, but it provides all of my information very clear. And then I like to talk. I am very talkative, so I typically provide all the information that they want, with all my personal comments and all that.
Yeah.
So I haven't done a letter until now. I mean, and I always know where I'm going to.
You
I
know, I
try.
have.
Go ahead.
In my personal experience, I have written a couple of letters in my life, and if I make a comparison between those, or among those letters that I wrote in the past, along with the ones that I have written lately, woof, it's way huge difference in the way that I used to express myself in these couple letters. But there are some positions where they ask you something like a motivation letter. The motivation letter, it's telling you, it's like an invitation for you to tell the recruiter, hey, listen, here I am in the pond of among these people. Here I am. I'm the frog who jumps really high and wants to go out of this bucket. That's the thing. That's the way
Okay,
it is, right? That's the way it is. All
that's a
righty.
good way to see it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, next in the guide, right, on the process of the job interview, uh, you can either go through the typing test or the grammar test or the person test. There is not something like, okay, now you go through the typing test. That's gonna be the third or the fourth or the fifth, right? It doesn't make it's not something that is going to be or is it is set up, right? Keep in mind that the day that you go and apply, there are going to be like a bunch of people, let's say 15 people, and there are going to be at least one, two, or three recruiters. So 15 people divided three recruiters, that will be equal to five people per recruiter. So what is going to happen that when the recruiter is talking to you, the other person next to you might be taking person tests, for example, or might be having the grammar test, or might be taking the typing test as well, right? So
Yeah.
that's gonna be depending on the process itself. That's gonna be depending on what is next, right? What is the next steps that you need to make sure that you have the skill. So what I'm trying to say that there is not a fixed order, right, in the process.
Right.
But pretty much in between, you will speak to the operate in between of those processes, the grammar and the person test. You will speak with a language specialist and yeah, language specialist who will say, right, how your level of English is as well, right? And he will be the other person that will check if you have that skill, which is speaking, right, in English. You were about to say something?
No, I was actually going to say about the order. as you mentioned, it's not
Mhm.
a there is not a fixed or specific order that things are going to be. It will depend a lot on the demand. As you said, there could be too much people for very little staffing, so they could fix you in different ways. Sometimes you may do the grammar test at the beginning and then the versant. Typically, the versant doesn't go first. That's very unusual.
Not
But yeah,
really. No, no, no. Percent.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not something like, oh, yo, welcome, please have a seat. You're taking percent. No, it's not like that. Percent will be like
right,
in third place, fourth
right,
place, almost towards. It's not towards at the end either. It's like in the middle, right? In the middle of the
right.
process, pretty much.
It's actually, they are going to see your development. I mean, if they see that you can speak, if they see that you have good control of how you speak, for example, that you can express yourself pretty good, they are going to let you see, okay, this guy or girl didn't make the this test yet, but he's actually pretty capable. So let's go ahead and jump into the versant. So it'll depend. But yes, in regards to the typing test, there's actually very good tricks that you can use
Mhm,
about that. For
mhm,
example, you can just go on Google and search typing test, and there
mhm,
will have a lot of good options
mhm,
that will give you a real timing for you. I
mhm,
mean, how fast you are, how many words
mhm.
you have, and you can even tell them, hey, my typing speed is this one. And
Yeah,
of course they will see
yeah.
it, but you will have
Absolutely.
support
Absolutely.
there.
And you know what? Something about that, that since you mentioned it already. So questions like, why should we hire you? Right? Why you're here? You can talk about
Yeah,
your typing skills, right?
right.
You
Yeah,
can talk about that because this is what they need. They need a person who can be multitasking, who can talk over the phone to a customer, and in the meantime, you are typing really fast, right? Or you typing fast, right? That's the thing. And that's something that you need to consider, right? That's something that you need to think about. Oh, you know what? I'm here because I'm really good at typing, and I think that this is a skill that you guys actually need for the position that I'm applying for, and that's why I'm the best candidate for that. Listen, you don't need to be Elon Musk, Jack Magma, Jeff Bezos to say, oh, you know what? What is your greatest achievement in your life? Right? It's not about, oh, you know what, I just built a cryptocurrency, right? It's not about that, guys. It's about what are your skills for the position that you are applying for. That's
yeah,
it's what we're talking about, right?
yeah.
And
Remember, as we said at the
mhm,
beginning, I'm sorry, try to comply with their requirements.
mhm,
Um, always make yourself, always allow your skills to talk about yourself. But remember that there are some skills that they don't need. It's not that they're not useful, but they may not need.
mhm.
So at the moment, you may need to express some other thing. For example, if you're good at typing, you may not go to a phone
A
call or
voice,
whatever,
a
but you
voice.
may go to text or I
Mhm.
mean chat or back office. So you always
Absolutely.
try your best to show your skills.
Absolutely. For example, if you are applying for a position where you need to type email campaigns or chatting campaigns, you need to have two really good skills over there. One of them is grammar, and the other one is typing, right?
That's good typing.
That's the thing. Now, as Didier has mentioned, there is a website. I'm gonna be leaving you guys the link for that website, which is typingtest.com. But anyway, it's gonna be in the video down below. You can go ahead and click, and within 60 minutes, you will realize how fast your speaking skills are. Right? Speaking skills, no, your typing
Typing.
skills, right? Your typing skills is right.
Yes.
You will realize how good you are in speaking skill. I don't know why I'm half the speaking skill. Typing
Well,
skills, right? Typing skills. All right.
right.
So let's see. Okay, let's talk about two more things, which is going to be the grammar test and the versant test. So what can you tell me about the grammar test? What should you be paying attention to when you face a grammar test, Didier?
Okay, that's a really good question. I typically don't think about it. Just go in there and get the things done. And that's how I go with the grammar. I mean, that's something basic. That is for you to show your comprehension of the language and how good you are at it. It'll show the level of English that you have. It is really good to pay attention. Overthinking is actually not helping always. Sometimes if you get to overthink about your test, you may go ahead and do some mistakes. So go for how you feel. I know it sounds a little hippie, but but yes, I mean, in my way, I just go and do it. I haven't had any problem at all doing my grammar test, and I always
But
get
what would
always.
you recommend though for those people who needs to take or need to take a grammar test? What would be the number one thing that, let's say tomorrow, one of our followers have a grammar test. So what would you say to this follower?
Um, I wouldn't give a personal advice, but let me give you a good one from from my experience.
Mhm, mhm.
My friend over here, like that one over there, he has a lot of good videos about grammar. So go ahead and follow him. That's my best advice.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I do really appreciate the fact that you are promoting self our channel as well on
Yes,
YouTube, right?
we are selling ourselves, okay?
Alrighty. When it comes to grammar, there are a couple of tenses you need to be careful about, or you need to review. That I would have to say that most likely when I get in contact with my students, you have guys problem with first conditional, second conditional, or third conditional. Try to review those tenses, right? Try to go and grab them and feel them and love them, because if you actually review this type of conditionals or this type of tenses, what is going to happen is this kind of action will remind you, right, what you have covered in the past, what other tenses you have covered, like past, simple present, present progressive, and all those
All right.
tenses will help you a lot. That's one of the things that I would suggest you to do, guys, which is going to be review first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, and review also about future, right? Future, the present perfect future, right? Because there are some questions in the
Tricky
job
question.
interview that they could ask you hypothetical situations. What would you do in this case, right? So that would be second conditional. Uh, what have what would you have changed if you can go back to the past? That will be third conditional. So those are things that you're gonna be challenged either with a recruiter, a language specialist, or your future supervisor, my dear advocate, my dear future advocate. Those are the things that you need to pay attention to.
Yes, as you mentioned before, they might create some hypothetical situations that you have to face.
Mhm.
You may think this is not something that I'm going to ever run into, or it's not something that I will ever use, not only on my personal, but on my job skills. But it's something very appreciated, I can tell. As I have been in many different call centers, I always try to be careful with how I speak. And I have had really good compliments and some good comments from my customers. And they end up really happy with my service just because of I have used the words in the right way. And they say,
Mhm.
"Oh my God, you're very polite." And I'm like, "Thank you."
Am I? Am I really
Yes.
polite? Okay. Alrighty. All right. Cool. 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 And our last topic, right, is percent test. So, how can a person be prepared for this type of test, Didier?
Hmm. I have to mention that I did take three of those. I wasn't really aware of doing those. And it's really good to pay attention whenever you are doing the versant. Um, they are very picky about how you express, and they are actually making a very good review of your English skills. As we just mentioned, that there are some hypothetical situations that you may be that they may have you on. So you have to be very careful. It's not something that you have to be scared about because they want to prove your skills. Okay, and all the interview is about that. Show your skills. Uh, as I mentioned before, my friend over there has really good topics. I'm actually taking from time to time. Uh, believe it or not. Eh, what can I say? Like I have done those tests, and I wasn't really aware I was what I was doing. They did come and say, "Hey, Didier," on the first one, they said, "You were pretty good. There was one or two things that you made little mistakes, which is strange. You didn't show them on the interview." I was like, well, thank you for the feedback. But eh, I don't know. I mean, I have faced the versant, but I haven't been into the situation of knowing that I was doing it. I just run into the interview. It's pretty wild, I know, but I like to get the things done.
Okay.
Uh, I don't want to overthink about it. I want to just, as every one of you guys, we want to get the job.
There you
So
go. Yep.
just want to do it, and
That's
that's
that's totally true, right? That's totally true. Um, well, well, there are a couple of things that I want to say about person test, and one of them is listening. Guys, this is an a listening exam. It's listening and speaking, right, at the same time. Meaning that it measures your listening skills, it measures your speaking skills,
and
and
comprehension
it's
as well.
there you go, and it's break it down in, for example, mastery sentence, which is grammar, how you're actually build a sentence and how you collocate every single word to make a sentence correctly, and the exam evaluates that and give you a mark on that. It evaluates your vocabulary because in one of the parts of the exam, it's going to ask you questions like, um, where do you drink water from? Or do you drink water from a bottle or a newspaper? And then you need to answer that people say, that's pretty logic, right? Yes, it's about logic, but that is called vocabulary. That's why they ask you this kind of question, because it's vocabulary. There are part in the person test, which is going to be one of the toughest part if you don't have the speaking skills developed, which is part F. And part before F, we have A, B, C, D, E, right? E, part E
Okay.
and part F, right? Part E, which is pretty much the fact you're going to be listening to something 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 1 minute audio, and then you're going to be retelling the story. That's retell the story. And retell the story, one of the things that I can tell you is that you need to pay attention to the characters, you need to pay attention to the settings, which is the location, the environment. You need to pay attention to the events, what happened first, what happened second, what happened third. And the good thing about this, guys, even though it sounds like overwhelming, it sounds like oh, that's too much to remember. The person test is going to give you a piece of paper, right? The person
Right.
test. And what you need to do, excuse me, what you need to do is just write down, write down what you hear, right? For especially for part E, right, which is story retell part E. So once you write this down, but this is another thing, don't write full sentences. Just try to
Yeah.
make it short for you to remember, because then you will retell the story. Once you have written what you have heard, what you need to do is just simply by your writing or drawing, because you can actually draw as well. You can retell the story as much as you can. The key over here is not to get quiet. 3 seconds dead air. Dead air means say nothing.
Okay. Yeah.
It will against you. It will mark you down. It will break you down. It will drag you down. So you need to be, you need to you need to practice this part that you are listening to something. Write down what you're listening, and then try to retell as much as you can in 30 seconds. Right? In 30 seconds,
Yeah.
you hear
Um,
something.
they,
You hear something in 45, 1 minute, and then you retell the story in 40 seconds, 45 seconds. And let me just finish with this. And the other part is part F, which is speaking. They're gonna ask you questions like, do you think children should be spending, or do you think children nowadays are spending too much time watching television? What do you think about that? Do you think that you should be eating fruit or vegetable? What do you think about that? And the most important over here, guys, is not actually your opinion, right? So if you think that watching TV all day long is good, it's good, right? It doesn't matter. Or if you think that watching TV all day long is negative, it's gonna be impact negatively your health. It doesn't matter. What really matters is that you can keep yourself speaking alone for about 40 seconds, right? And at least in nesting, we have a strategy for you to do that. We have around 12 speaking strategies for you to develop your speaking skills. And these strategies will help you out to overcome, to pass this obstacle, right, in the written test. Perhaps it might sound like, oh my God, this is something that I cannot do it. But most likely, students I have taught the strategy, the students have been practicing percent test with, they have been able to succeed. And we have already a couple of students hired, right, in some of the biggest call centers in Nicaragua, which is
there
really
you
good,
go.
right? Which is really good.
Yes.
So you wanted to say
Uh,
something else?
no, I was just going to mention about the part E on the Bersan test, which is the paraphrasing part. It, as you mentioned before, you will not be left alone with only your imagination and all of that.
Hmm.
They do give you tools. Okay,
Yeah,
you do have
yeah.
your paper, you
Hmm.
do have your pen. Use it smartly. Don't type as Nestor said. Don't type full sentences because that's going to keep you from paying attention, and you don't want to do that. You may do a little drawing so you can keep the inspiration, let's say. And this is actually really good for you to know because whenever you are facing a customer, you will have this situation a lot. Okay, this is something that you are going to face almost in every call. Customer is going to be talking to you, and in many times they will want you to say something of what you heard in order for them to be sure that you are paying attention, to make them feel that they were heard. Okay, so that's really important. That's something that we can practice like every day. Actually, you can just go with your friends and start talking about anything.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
something really good to do is that to try to do to be normal, to be comfortable, and speaking to your friends is actually something that will help you a lot. Okay, it will improve your speaking skills and also your people skills. So
Yeah,
it's a win-win.
that's right. That's right. Something else that I want to add for the person test is that keep in mind that it's very important that, as I just mentioned earlier, this is a listening and speaking exam, right? It's pretty much so. There are two ways for you to practice your listening skills. Number one, try to listen something that you really like, which is pretty much most likely any teacher can tell you, right? Or any other person who has experience in teaching can tell you that you listen as much as you can and then try to repeat. That's number one thing, some things that you like. Second thing is on TikTok. TikTok actually has really good accounts where you can listen to American people the way they speak, and the good thing is that they can speak within 30 seconds, 15 seconds, up to 1 minute. And the more I suggest you to start with something short, 15-second listening, and then repeat it. And as long as you are reaching those 15 seconds and you're saying that correctly in 30 seconds, you upgrade it to 30 seconds. And once you know or you manage your retelling story in 30 seconds, you upgrade it to 1 minute. So the important thing here is how to start. And last but not least, we also have a channel, which is nestingacc, your channel, this channel, where we are broadcasting this podcast. And you can subscribe. From time to time, what I do is to upload part A, part B, part C person test questions. I promise you, everybody, that I'm gonna be uploading part F, part E, parts as well, or I'm gonna be uploading those parts for you to practice, for you to keep that in mind. And the only thing you need to do for our next video is just to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you won't miss any other episode, right, of our podcast and from any other episode of the person test.
Yes. I was actually going to mention that. I don't really do TikTok, like not at all. It's not that I don't like it. It's actually very interesting. There's a lot of different stuff you can see from there. But I am really fan of YouTube, and there's huge amount of content that you can use uh, for improving your comprehension, for watching our videos,
All right.
for the videos to be with the translation down below so you can read. There are some words that are going to be difficult, but it's always good to learn new words. Okay.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
keep
Exactly.
watching. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, what you're saying is totally true. I mean, if you are really interested on something, the best thing or the best source for you to have more information, get input, right? Get input to your brain is by listening. By listening, the more you listen, the better it will be. But you need to be. It must be active listening, right? Paying attention to what people are saying, trying to get the meaning, the general idea, the specific ideas, and because that will help you out a lot for your next job interview, especially when you're taking person test, right? If you are just watching or listening to something because you want to have something as a background, as a noisy background, it's gonna be worthless, right? It's not gonna be working for you to prepare yourself for your next exam, right, or for your next test. And remember, right? Remember that we also have our webinars where we actually help you out on person test, how to prepare yourself for that type of test that you're going to be facing, right? Facing in a job interview. So Didier, well, we are about to finish, right? We're about to finish. So is there something else that you want to add about this guide that is brought to, I mean, this idea was thanks to Sua Rohan from our followers on TikTok and one of our followers on TikTok. So I'm asking you if there is something else that you want to add before we finish this quick guide.
Well, as always, I have too many things to say. I like to say that I'm very talkative, which is very true. I mean, if you go into my social media accounts, and you will find that I will be speaking a lot. I will be, if you want to text, I will definitely do so. And so just think about it like this. When I was learning English, my teacher said, if I gave you $1 for every word that you were saying, would you speak? And I
Wow,
was like, of
sounds cool,
course I
man.
would.
That sounds cool,
So
man. That's
remember,
really good.
remember.
So you're rich already.
Correct.
You're rich
And
already.
this is what the call centers are about. They want your skills. They want you to speak. So just do it. Not only because of you need it, but also because of you learn. Uh, you develop this skill, and this is a huge opportunity to get the best out of your skill, of your English. Okay, so
Absolutely.
just do it. Be Nike. I'm sorry, I
Alrighty.
should cut that out.
Sounds really great. On my end, guys, I just want to say thank you, right? Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for subscribing, sharing among your friends, and commenting down below. What do you think about our podcast? If there is any question, is there any doubt that we just left behind? Let us know. We read your comments, right?
Right.
And remember that this
Any
is
comments as
for
well? I
you,
mean,
right? Come
sorry,
again?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Also, we want to bring the best topics for you. And
That's
if
right.
you let us know what topics you would like us to talk about, it will be very important for us.
That
We
will be
will
very
be
helpful, right? That will be
right.
very helpful because we went through already in certain stages in the call center, and perhaps that you are just a newbie. There's a brand new product for this amazing career. Let us know, right? Let us know what you think. Let us know how you would like to be, how you like us to help you out, right? So it will be just an honor. It will be just a pleasure, right? Didier, thank you very much for your time once again. Was amazing, right, to have you as my co-host in our DNA podcast, the Call Center Insider. And definitely, I hope I can talk to you in our next podcast. Okay.
Sure. See you then. See
All
you,
righty.
everyone.
Very good. So, bye bye, everybody.